Well, we all need to trust someone, right? Somebody who can make better decisions than we can as individuals. People who have pushed the envelope or worked harder or longer or done more research than us. People who are experts in their field and people who we can look to for not just advice, but for direction. When we see people who seem to know what they're talking about, at least for me, it's motivating. It makes me want to be a better master of my own truth and my own domain. But this is multifaceted, the discussion I have here. The main part of the discussion is people like being told what to do. And that's perhaps a controversial statement. I know, as myself personally, I do not like being told what to do. In fact, I absolutely abhor it. It's like one of the worst things to me is when people tell me how I should do something. Whether it be how I should go about a career choice or my own business or art or something like that. However, I'm completely open-minded when people tell me what to do and they are people who I respect or admire, or if I work for that person. Example given. I got home from work a little while ago and I was thinking about this on the way home, how my boss came in, and I've been for the last few months working, building tiny houses on trailers for this guy. And when he sees something he doesn't like, somebody used the wrong nails or, the design isn't quite right, he will pipe up and get frustrated, but only for a moment. And he says, "Why'd you use those nails?" or "Why'd you do that?" But he gets over it quickly and moves on. I've had bosses who are complete assholes. This guy is just a normal human being. He's not a angry boss. I'm not trying to imply that. I'm saying he's doing what anyone would do when they have a company they've invested in and somebody does something in a way that they don't expect. Now, here's what I'm getting at. It doesn't matter whether you do it the right way or not. It matters that you follow instruction. So in construction, even when somebody doesn't agree, you do it because they're the boss. Whether you want to use glue or not, whether you want to use screws or nails, how much time you want to put into one project versus, you could sit and nitpick something for days, or you could finish it in a day. And depending on what it is, it might not need that much complication. And an example if you're not a carpenter, it's hard to explain. But let's say that you're putting up siding and the boards are different, slightly different lengths by like a 16th. It'll look horrible at first, but if that's being covered by a board later, you think ahead and you say, well, it doesn't matter. I can take less time to perfectly cut each board because I know it'll be covered and caulked in. That's not chincing because it makes no structural or integral difference to the building. In the end, it looks the same and it functions the same. And that's the important thing. So, sorry to get off on a tangent about construction there, but it's important to understand where I'm coming from when I say, if the boss wants something done a certain way, his experience shows that that's the way he wants it done. And I have no problem. I never get angry or frustrated or, if I make a mistake, which I rarely do. But no, I've made a couple where I maybe, we did a job where the last tiny home we did, I was patching some holes. So was this other guy. And then we got pulled off to do something else and ended up not being able to wipe off all the excess, plaster in time. It's like a hole filling stuff. Not to get into it, the boss noticed and he was like, "Oh, you got to wipe this off." And I was frustrated with myself for not being able to get back to it in time. But the point here is that I don't find myself getting mad at him ever because it's his business. I've learned this over the years. When somebody else is in charge of a topic, a subject, a business, whatever it might be, you follow what they want to do because all humans are different and everybody has their own way of doing things. And he's, of course, more experienced than I am, but that's really not the point. The point being that I will give suggestions and he will take them if he likes them. And if not, he will suggest his way of doing things. And that's how it works. That's how business works, right? You don't get offended because other people have different opinions. And that's really, I guess, the crux of this discussion in a way. That's at least part of it. That I've met a lot of people in my life who are bothered by other people's opinions, whether they have a different take on a subject or whether they aren't as interested in a topic. Some people get really bothered if they share something and somebody's not interested in it, or they don't think it's funny, or they don't think it's interesting. But to the point where people really are uncomfortable if others don't believe what they believe and don't feel the same way. And that's, I think, a crutch. Not just, I guess not a crutch, but rather it holds you back. It's definitely holding us back from fully potentiating ourselves as humans to worry about what other people think and to try to perfect ourselves to fit other people's ideas. And so in life, what does it mean to be a leader? People don't like being told what to do, but we do it if we respect the person. We've covered that. Now we get into leading by example and being a good leader. Anyone can be a good leader if they take the time to want to be a good leader. Now, I want to make this clear, and something we all have probably noticed at one time or another over the years. The more that you are liked, the more you are hated, I guess would be the best way to put it. When I started making YouTube videos, I had a small channel, and then it gradually grew. At a certain point, I had people started accusing me of all kinds of things, selling out to the mainstream, or I've had people actually comment and say, well, I had to unsubscribe. I stopped following channels once they get more than A, B, or C amount of subscribers. And I thought, wow, you're willing to unsubscribe because of that. I mean, first off, I don't care because I do this because I love talking about a variety of topics. But it doesn't matter that a person unsubscribes. It matters that they want to tell the world. And that's because they want to tell you how they feel. And the reason they want to tell you how they feel is because people want to be heard. And since people can't always be heard in other ways, they will lash out on the internet. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. People who will harass other people or be trolls or get angry at others for their opinions, their ideas, really are people that just have nothing better to do. No real life to speak of. In other words, a person who works a full-time job and has a family doesn't sit around all day complaining about the government or politics or, the State of the Union, whatever it might be, because they're doing other shit. And there was a time when I thought, okay, well, the other shit, if you will, is merely a distraction from the real world. That we have to be focused on what's going on. Look at what's happening over here and over here. People are being taken advantage of. And then I realized that the people that I personally admire, the people that I respect their opinions, are the ones who are balanced and honest about how they feel, but also don't really take any particular stance. It's kind of like a meh, open-ended. I don't subscribe to any particular political philosophy. For example, I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I believe in freedom of choice, and no, I'm not a libertarian. I don't believe any party represents me because of the simple fact I'm an individual. And none of it resonates with me. So, one thing about the people that we admire, and hopefully I can cover all the topics and bring it full circle, but maybe not. The people that we see, that we admire, that we think have these great lives or have a lot to teach us, we don't see what goes on behind the scenes. I think this is something that's often ignored. The people that I may think I want to be like this person, or, this is the kind of person I respect, I don't necessarily find that very often, but when I do, I'm super sus. I mean, I'm suspicious about everything people do. Not in a bad way, like I'm suspicious they're going to harm me, but I know for a fact that personal interest comes first, and it should. If you're one of the people who believes that only helping others and altruism is all that matters, that's fine. But when you have a family, that's what comes first, your family. You don't give a shit about other people until your family is taken care of, and the rest of the world comes second. And that's just how it should be. And so behind the scenes, we see these people who seem to have these great lives, and behind the scenes, you find out that they're not doing so well. I mean, I don't want to use examples because I don't have any here. I'm off the cuff. I'm talking from the top of my head here. I don't have a fucking teleprompter in front of me. But the name that comes to mind would be Jordan Peterson. He had a fall from grace. He was this supposed red pill leader, not that he wanted to be. A lot of people followed him that he didn't respect, but he had this thing about men taking accountability and doing the right thing and not being losers. And then we found out that he'd been hooked on benzodiazepines the whole time. I think he was taking Klonopin, if I'm not mistaken. But it doesn't matter. We all use drugs. That's not the point. The point is that he didn't talk about it. He wasn't honest about it. And those are some strong substances. I've been there. I've taken Valium. I know how all that works. I also had a prescription for Klonopin and buspirone for a while. I thought I had stress problems, but I learned to deal with it meditationally, if you will, kind of in my own mind. And so to see a guy like Jordan Peterson, who couldn't deal with it in his own mind, even though he'd talked about cleaning your own room and all these things, these ironic things, it's perfect to bring him up because people respect him. A lot of people respect the guy, and I do too. He owned up to it, and he's since gone on with his life. But he's not a guru. He's not perfect. Not everyone's going to eat just meat, in a metaphoric way. He's got his own way of doing things that works for him, so be it. But honesty matters. Own it. And that's the thing with everyone. I think that that's one of the things that will lead us to a better life. And life is both cooperation and competition. And that, for a lot of people, those two terms may seem like polar opposites. Cooperation, competition. Cooperation, competition. We cannot succeed without both. And that is a paradox? Maybe. But I think it's more of just the yin and yang of life. The cooperation part is the fact that we as humans had to be able to build. Like when I go to work, one guy could do that, but it would take a long time. Because you're not just building, you're building with materials that were made at a mill. And those materials were harvested by lumberjacks, right? And all of the metal components were extracted from mines and then refined and then separated into their metal types. And then that metal, that steel, was mixed with other metals. Then it was extruded or poured or, forged, whatever it might be, into the metal component that was needed for the handrail, for a bracket, for a simple screw. And all the people that work in cooperation to make these things happen, it's just amazing to me. I have a strong admiration. You know, it's funny because I come across as cynical because I have a lot of fun with cynicism, but I'm really not. I'm a positive person. I love life. I love all the amazing things out there. And cooperation, the fact that humans, like when people say, oh, look at idiots driving, yeah, I see that too. I get frustrated when I drive. But when I sit back and think about it, I realize that most people get where they're going without an accident. Focus on the 99.99% of people who don't crash. And the fact that we can all work coherently to get to the places we want to go and then do the things we need to do and then get back home. It's pretty cool. But here comes the competition side. Cooperation is important, but competition drives us in more ways than just innovation. I know a lot of folks say, well, without competition and capitalism, we would never innovate or create. That's not true. People innovate for different reasons, and they don't usually do it for monetary gain. In fact, if we eliminated the monetary aspect and the copyright laws and all these things, I believe people would invent more. But that's not the point. The point is that competition in a natural sense is just something that most guys feel, and I feel like most women don't understand it. But it's genetic, it comes with our disposition as being men, and it's not something that you should get over, it's something that you should embrace in a fun way. That's why guys play sports. Women do too. Women are competitive as well. And I'm not even getting into the trans issues or different sexes. You know, my point here is just to say that people like competition. And life is cooperation and competition so intertwined that it should be fun. And what I'm noticing is a lot of people aren't making it fun. They hate authority to the point where even I cringe. I grew up with I hitchhiked to a Dead show in Cali barefoot with a fucking patch on my thing that said question reality, and I was a total anti-authoritarian in the early 90s. And I've always hated authority. But the more I learn, the more as I become an adult and understand history and how difficult it is for people to cooperate, I realized we have something very tentative here. That if we're willing to listen to the experts, then, and the people who know what they're talking about, we can take them as our heroes. But the problem is that that's become so convoluted, polluted, and completely divorced from reality by the simple fact that money talks for a lot of people. So you can buy science, you can buy religion, you can buy anything by just saying, we want these results, we want you to convince the public to be scared of this or be scared of that. And people have become numb to it, so we've lost trust in expertise. And I think that's dangerous. But ultimately, when it comes down to the people we look up to, it doesn't really matter because they aren't the ultimate experts on anything. What our goal should be is to become better than that, better than them. No matter who your idol is, no matter who your hero is, your goal shouldn't be to try to aspire to be like them, but to be better than them, not in an arrogant way. And even if Jesus Christ is your hero, for example, and you're a religious person, Jesus said, I believe in Matthew, I can't even recall the verse, Matthew something, that he wanted people to be better than. He said, you can do better deeds than I. And that puts it kind of in the lap of the Christians, you know. Do those deeds. Do something better than he did. I mean, it's in the Bible that he said that. And no matter how you translate it, it's like you can do better deeds than I. And shall, because that's the thing. Humans should always aspire to be better. It's a metaphor for becoming better than you aspire to be. And that's relative. It's subjective as to what better is. Some people believe better is wiping out all their horrible enemies, and that's not the way to go about that. Don't be killing people. That's not the right thing. But doing the works, as Jesus said, the works in a way, it's what people do when they write books about important topics or when they talk about things that matter with other people. It's the works of sharing ideas with people and realizing that you are those people that you look up to. You are part of that. You are part of what feeds that flame. Everybody's interactions together make a difference. And that most of us, in my belief anyway, and I choose to believe this, that we are aspiring to be better people. Whatever that means. So, if you're a good teacher, you also have to be a good student. And if you're going to be a good leader, you also have to be a good follower. So if you teach people, there's no way you can teach people anything unless you have been a student, a good student, and learn the things you need to know to teach. And you cannot be a good leader without watching other people by following them and learning how they teach. So when I go to work, I have no problem with my boss bossing us around and telling us what to do. That's his business. And I am totally cool with that. You know, when I am somewhere with an authority figure that I respect, I, in their presence, will completely, do what they ask. When I'm in the grocery store and the guy yesterday who had no authority whatsoever told me to put a shirt on and I said, no thanks. That was a different story. So I do still have a problem with authority only when it doesn't prove itself to be authority, if that makes sense. And so I think that it's really important, that note of being a good teacher and student and being a good leader and follower. And ultimately, the final notes here would be let shit go and have no expectations of other people, other ideas. People are full of shit. I mean, I've come across so many people who are genuine and kind, but in the end, a lot of people reveal themselves to be too weak to honestly admit how they feel. But let me just back up for a minute and say the problem with admitting how you feel, honestly, is that a lot of people get very offended by it. And you will be called out as a jerk or cynical or whatever it might be, or arrogant. I've heard it all online. People, have left all kinds of rude fucking comments about, me and my life and who I am. And you have to let that go. You've got to, as, especially doing YouTube videos with the 4,000 plus that I've made, it's not something that is easy to do anymore. I don't talk to the camera like I used to. Holy shit. Oh, my drum machine fell down. It reminded me to drink my coffee. So it's getting kind of late. The sun's still out, but it must be around 9 o'clock. I got to get ready to go to work in the morning and get my tools and do my thing and go do the best I can, right? But on a final note here, I guess, learning to let shit go is important. And not being offended when people know more than you do or teach you something or feel a certain way about something that you don't agree. We've become overly sensitive to that kind of stuff. And so it's pretty silly, and eventually we'll have bigger problems. I think a lot of people already do. But in general, there's that fruit fly. Got to catch him. There we go. I'll get you, bro. I'll talk to you all next time. I should have made this a podcast because it was pretty long, but once I get started talking to the camera, I end up having a lot to say. And I just wanted to stop and say thank you all. I know some people consider me their expert on things, and other people think of me as just some idiot that knows nothing. That's the balance right there. I'm like, when I was younger, I thought I was pretty intelligent, and then the older I got, the more I realized I don't know shit. And I meet so many people who are just beyond me in comprehension of all different types of things. But the youthful arrogance, of course, that you have, I guess you have to survive. But at any rate, I know what I know, and I try to share what I learn, and just live my life. So that's my ramble for the day. Thank you for coming along, and I'll talk to you all next time. Be sure to check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel at Carpo719. If you would like to check out my podcast where I talk about more controversial topics, it's called 15-Minute Free Thinking. And the link is usually in the description, I think. So other than that, not a lot to talk about. I think I'm done, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Bye.